Episode 1, The Voice Beneath the Static. It started like every other night shift. I was the host of Night Frequencies, a late-night radio show for truckers, insomniacs, and anyone lonely enough to talk to static. My studio sat 5 miles off Highway 191, a stretch of road most folks only drove once. That night the air was thick, the signal weak. The neon sign outside flickered like it was breathing. I remember saying into the mic, "If you're driving through the dark tonight, call me. Keep me company." The phone rang instantly. Line 2, no caller ID. Night Frequencies, you're on air. Silence. Then the sound of heavy breathing. Not fast, slow, deliberate, as if the caller was trying to time each breath with the rhythm of the road. "Where are you calling from, friend?" I asked, trying to sound calm. The voice finally spoke. "Mile 73. Highway 191, static crackled. The words were wet, broken, like someone speaking through blood. "There's no mile 73, I said, half laughing. "Highway 191 ends at 69. "I've been driving past 69 for an hour, he whispered. The signs keep repeating, then came the sound of his truck's engine straining, loud, echoing through the phone. He started mumbling numbers. 71, 72, 73. I muted my mic and stared at the red on-air light. The station's clock blinked 1:33 a.m. When I unmuted, he was still counting. "Sir, maybe you should pull over." A piercing screech cut me off. Metal twisting, tires skidding, then silence. I thought it was a prank until I heard it, faintly beneath the static. A whisper repeating the same sentence over and over. "You're next, you're next, you're next." I killed the call, ripped off my headphones. The phone lines lit up again, all 6 of them. But when I answered, each line was the same, breathing static and that whisper, layered like a choir of dead signals. That was 3 years ago. The police said no crash was ever found that night. But 2 weeks later, a trucker's rig turned up in a dried-out riverbed near mile marker 73, a marker that still doesn't exist on any map. The cab was empty. The radio was on. The dial locked at my frequency. Every night since, someone calls at 1:33 a.m., always from mile 73. Sometimes I hear the same man's voice. Other times it's different, older, younger, crying, laughing. They all say the same thing before the line cuts out. "Keep talking. Don't fall asleep. It's listening." Last night the call stopped. The silence felt heavier than the static ever did. So I did something stupid. I packed my recorder, grabbed my keys, and drove toward Highway 191. I wanted to prove it was all a story. A strange coincidence for ratings. But as I passed mile 69, the radio turned itself on, my voice echoing through the speakers, whispering back at me, "Mile 73. Keep driving." And now, as I record this, I can see a new road sign ahead, glowing faint blue in my headlights. Mile 73. The whispering starts again. Only this time, it's saying my name. Episode 2, mile marker 77. They call me Red. Been hauling cargo up and down this country for 20 years. Nothing scares me anymore. Not drunks on the road, not midnight fog, not even the silence that crawls into your bones when you've been awake too long. But that was before I took the route through Highway 191. It was supposed to be an easy haul. Tucson to Flagstaff. Overnight. A 6-hour drive tops. The dispatcher warned me about construction near mile 60, said to take it slow. What he didn't say was that the highway changes after dark. Somewhere past midnight, I noticed the mile markers stopped lining up. 66, 67, 68. Then again, 68. I laughed, blamed it on fatigue. Maybe I missed one. But my GPS started glitching, screen flickering like it was breathing. Every recalculation ended with the same message. Rerouting to mile marker 77. I'd never heard of it. 191 only goes up to 70. But the map kept redrawing itself, a loop, curling like a snake eating its own tail. I drove on. Fog rolled in thick, milky, swallowing the road ahead. I slowed to 20. The world shrank to what my headlights could touch. The CB radio hissed, then cut through the noise. "You're close, Red." I froze. No one knew my name on this channel. "Who's this?" I barked. Silence. Then the same voice, low and amused. "You've been here before." The fog thinned for a moment, and that's when I saw it, a new sign by the road. Rusted, bent backward like it had tried to run away. Mile 77, it wasn't painted. The numbers looked burned into the metal. The second I passed it, my headlights flickered. The road stretched out wider, smoother, blacker, like fresh tar. And ahead in the distance, I saw another truck. My truck, same model, same color, even the same dent on the back bumper. It was moving fast. Too fast. Hey! I shouted into the radio. That's impossible. I'm the only rig on. Keep up, Red, the voice said. I pressed the gas. The engine roared. The speedometer climbed, but I couldn't close the gap. My twin truck stayed exactly 100 yards ahead, taillights glowing a deep, unnatural red, like eyes. Then I noticed something worse. Every mile marker I passed after that said the same thing. 77, over and over again. Mile 77, mile 77, mile 77. No matter how far I drove, I was stuck in the same mile. I slammed the brakes, stepped out, and the air hit me like ice. No sound, not even my own engine idling. Just the faint hum of something beneath the asphalt, like a heartbeat. Then I heard the CB again. Almost there, I turned. My truck, the other one, was parked behind me now. Engine running, door wide open. Someone was sitting in the driver's seat. I walked closer. The headlights flickered. The figure turned its head slowly, and I saw my own face staring back. He smiled. Took you long enough. Everything went black. I woke up in the cab hours later. Morning sun in my eyes. Engine cold. No fog. No second truck. My GPS said I was right where I'd started. Mile 69. Only one thing was different. On the inside of my windshield, written in dust with a finger, were the words, "See you tonight, mile 77. Episode 3, The Girl on the Overpass. I used to believe that every road had a story, but Highway 191 doesn't tell stories. It collects them. My name's Deputy Caleb Monroe. I worked the night shift out of Pima County for 9 years. Most nights were quiet, DUIs, deer strikes, the occasional broken taillight. Then came the call about the girl on the overpass. It was 2:11 a.m. The dispatcher said a trucker reported a barefoot teenage girl standing on the old concrete bridge at mile 72. No ID, no motion, just standing there in the rain. I was 15 minutes out. When I arrived, the rain had stopped, but the smell of wet asphalt clung to the air like grief. My headlights swept the bridge, empty. No car, no girl, just silence and the hiss of tires from somewhere far down the highway. Then my radio crackled. Unit 47, approach with caution. Caller claims she stepped off. The bridge was 50 feet high. Below it, the desert. Rocks, mud, and nothing else. I aimed my flashlight downward, expecting the worst. But there were no signs of a fall. No footprints in the wet dirt. Just a puddle rippling like something had disturbed it moments ago, and then I heard it, a hum. Faint at first, like wind through a pipe, then sharper, closer. It came from the overpass itself. I turned back, and there she was, standing dead center on the bridge, long black hair dripping, wearing a torn white dress. Her feet were bare, skin pale as moonlight. She didn't move. Didn't blink. Miss, I called out. You're not supposed to be up here. No response. Just that slow humming sound, now coming from her direction. I took a step forward. The radio on my shoulder hissed violently. A voice whispered through it, not from dispatch, too distorted. Don't look at her eyes. I froze. The girl tilted her head slightly, like she'd heard it too. Then she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was thin, deliberate, like someone stretching skin over something that wasn't meant to smile at all. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to come with me, I said, hand hovering near my gun, though I didn't know why. She turned, slow, like she was underwater, and pointed down the road. Headlights appeared in the distance. A small sedan, moving too fast. I tried waving them down, shouting, but the girl didn't move. The car swerved, horn blaring, tires screaming, and went through her. No impact, no blood, just a blast of static from my radio, a blinding flash of light, and then nothing. When my vision cleared, the car was gone. The girl was gone. The bridge was empty again. I called it in. Backup searched the area for hours. No sign of a crash, no tire marks, no footprints. But the next morning, a local farmer reported an abandoned car deep in the desert. Doors locked, engine running. Inside was a teenage girl's school uniform, folded neatly on the seat. The name tag read, Lydia Moore. She died in a car accident on that same overpass 21 years ago. Now every time it rains, drivers report seeing her again, standing barefoot in the same spot, waiting for the headlights, and when they stop, she gets in. Episode 4, Rest Stop No. 9. I've been driving cross-country routes for 15 years, long enough to know that the loneliest places aren't the empty highways. They're the rest stops that nobody remembers building. It was late November, icy wind curling through the desert. I was hauling electronics out of El Paso, halfway through my third cup of stale coffee when the need hit me. Caffeine and nerves, I guess. I hadn't seen another car for 40 miles. Then, out of the dark, the sign appeared. Rest Stop No. 9. 2 miles. He frowned. There wasn't supposed to be a rest stop between 68 and 74, but I was too tired to care. The ramp curved off into a narrow lane lit by a single flickering street lamp. The place looked like it hadn't seen a visitor in years. Cracked pavement, weeds growing through concrete, the smell of rust and rain. But the diner lights were on. Strange, I muttered, parking my rig. The neon sign above the building buzzed weakly. Cafe 9. Open all night. Inside, the air was warm, thick with the scent of old grease and burnt sugar. Every table was set, plates of food steaming, coffee cups full, jukebox playing Blue Moon softly in the corner. But there wasn't a soul in sight. Hello? I called out. Anybody working here? No answer. I walked between the booths. Half-eaten pancakes, bacon still glistening, forks resting mid-bite, like everyone had just stood up and left. The kitchen door swung slightly, creaking on rusty hinges. Something about the air felt wrong. Too still, too clean, like a stage waiting for an audience. Then I heard a sound, a fork hitting the floor. I spun around. The booth nearest the window now had someone sitting in it. A man, maybe 50, wearing a driver's jacket and a trucker cap. His hands were resting on the table, unmoving. His skin was pale like porcelain. His eyes were open, staring straight through me. Sir? I whispered. He didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Then I noticed the steam rising from his coffee. Fresh. That's when the jukebox stuttered, the record skipping. Blue Moon dissolved into static. A woman's voice whispered through the noise. Don't stay. Don't eat. The man's mouth twitched, just once. A faint smile cracked across his face. I backed away toward the door. But the door was gone. Where the entrance had been, there was only wallpaper, red, peeling, patterned with faint handprints underneath. My heart slammed. I turned toward the window, but outside wasn't the parking lot anymore. It was the highway, endless, stretching into blackness, headlights flickering in the distance, though no cars passed. And then I saw them, dozens of people, sitting in the booths, all facing forward, all pale, all smiling the same painted smile. The waitress stepped out from the kitchen. Her apron was spotless. Her eyes were not. Coffee? She asked softly. It's on the house. I bolted, crashing through the glass, stumbling into cold air. I didn't stop running until I hit the highway again. When I turned back, the lights of Cafe 9 were gone. Just desert, silence, nothing. The next morning, I checked my GPS log. There was no exit, no rest stop, just an empty stretch between 68 and 74. But when I looked at my dashboard, there was a receipt stuck in the vent. It read, Cafe 9, table for 1, paid in full, come back soon. Episode 5, Do Not Sleep on Highway 191. I never believed in ghost stories, not the kind that live online anyway. But if you ever stumble on a Reddit thread titled r/r Highway 191, do not sleep on this road, don't read it, because that's how it starts. The original post appeared at 2:07 a.m. on a Wednesday. The username was You_Drive_Awake191. The title read, I pulled over to rest. Woke up parked somewhere else. I think something was sitting behind me. Most of the thread was the usual internet noise, skeptics, jokes, one-liners. But then the OP posted an update 15 minutes later. I'm still on the same road. My GPS says I haven't moved, but the stars are gone. The sky's just black. Someone asked for photos. He uploaded 2. The first was a dashboard shot. Headlights cutting through fog, mile marker barely visible. The second was pure static, not blurry, static like a TV screen. The comments exploded. People called it fake, AI generated. Others noticed something in the static, a faint reflection of a face in the rearview mirror, watching from the back seat. Then, silence. The account went inactive. The post deleted itself an hour later. I wouldn't have thought twice about it until I got the message. It came from a burner account, no username, just an empty profile picture. Subject line, "You were reading the thread." Inside was one sentence. "You saw it too, didn't you?" At first I thought it was a prank. Then my phone started glitching. Every night at 1:33 a.m., it would light up. Notifications from accounts that didn't exist. All saying the same thing. Pull over. Stay awake. It's behind you. One night I gave in. I had to know. I drove out to the desert stretch where 191 runs silent between towns. No lights, no service. No reason to stop. The road looked like it was swallowing its own light. I parked near mile 70 and waited. At 1:33, the fog began to move. Not roll, move. Like it had shape. The car radio, even though it was off, crackled alive. The same distorted voice from the thread played on loop. "You're still here. Why didn't you listen?" Stay awake. My hands were shaking. The temperature dropped so fast the windows frosted. I turned the key, nothing. Battery dead. Then came the tapping. Slow, deliberate. 3 knocks on the driver's window. I turned my head. Someone was standing outside. They looked almost normal. Jeans, jacket. But the face... It wasn't a face. Just a blur, like static smeared across skin. And yet, I swear it was smiling. They mouthed a single word, sleep. I blacked out. When I woke up, the sun was rising. My car was parked in a ditch 10 miles from where I'd stopped. No footprints, no fog. Just my phone sitting on the dashboard, screen cracked, still glowing. The Reddit thread was gone. But in my drafts, there was a new unsent post, already written. I pulled over to rest. Woke up parked somewhere else. I think something was sitting behind me. I didn't write that. I don't even remember typing. But now, every night at 1:33 a.m., my phone vibrates, even when it's turned off. And when I check the screen, there's always a new message waiting. Keep driving. Don't fall asleep. We're almost there. Episode 6. Echoes in the Asphalt. They called me Patch on account of the asphalt burns that run up my arms. Spent 30 years fixing America's roads, pouring tar, filling cracks, breathing in smoke thick enough to choke a ghost. But the stretch I worked on in '83, that one still breathes back. It was Highway 191, new federal funding, big project. Middle of nowhere, just desert and silence so deep it felt like you could fall into it. We started digging just after sunrise, flattening the old dirt road. But around noon, one of the bulldozers hit something hard, not rock, not metal. It sounded hollow. The foreman told us to clear it. When the dust settled, we saw the top of what looked like a door, an iron hatch, buried under the sand. No markings, just a single latch and the faint outline of a cross carved into the metal. We thought it was an old storm shelter, maybe leftover from the mining days. The foreman radioed the county office. They told us to seal it and keep working. Too expensive to delay, they said, so we paved over it. I remember the way the asphalt steamed that day, like it was cooking something alive underneath. That night, I couldn't sleep. The desert was too quiet. Even the coyotes had gone silent. Then around 3 a.m., I heard knocking. Faint at first, then louder. It was coming from beneath the road. 3 knocks. Then a pause. Then 3 more. At dawn, I told the foreman. He laughed, said it was air pockets. But the next day, one of the new guys, Jimmy, went missing. We found his gloves at the site. Nothing else. After that, more strange things started happening. The machines would turn themselves on in the middle of the night. Freshly poured asphalt would crack by morning, as if something underneath was pushing back. Then, one afternoon, I saw it, a ripple in the blacktop, like a breath. The asphalt bulged up, then flattened again, and in that half second I swear I heard a voice from beneath. Let me out. I dropped my shovel and ran. We tried to call the county again, but the line was dead. So the foreman did what all men with too much pride do. He ordered us to keep paving. We'll bury it deeper, he said. So we did. We laid another layer, thicker this time, sealed it in for good. The day after we finished, the foreman's truck veered off the highway. They said he fell asleep at the wheel. But the coroner's report said something else. His hands were burned black, like he'd grabbed molten asphalt. The highway opened a week later. People started disappearing a month after that. And me? I quit the job, moved away, changed my name, tried to forget. But you can't bury what's still breathing. Every year when the summer heat hits that road, I hear it again, that knocking. And sometimes, when the wind's just right, it carries voices with it, crying, whispering, humming through the cracks. Last winter I drove back out there. Needed to see it one last time. They've repaved that section since. Looks brand new. Smooth, dark, perfect. But when I stepped out of the car and put my hand on the ground, it was warm and it was knocking back. Episode 7, The Dead Frequency. You ever drive so long that the road starts whispering? Not from the wind, not from your tires, but from somewhere else. My name's Owen Price. I used to be a field sound engineer, the kind that hunts strange noises for documentaries, storms, caves, deserts, even the hum of dying power lines. I loved silence because in silence, you hear the truth. That's what brought me to Highway 191. A producer wanted authentic ambient recordings for a horror podcast. Real highway sounds, no filters. Easy money, I thought. I packed my gear, tuned my shortwave receiver, and hit record. But somewhere past mile 68, the silence began to move. It started as faint static. Then a signal slipped through. An old AM station, 1031 kHz. I turned the dial, and a man's voice came through. Accident. Single vehicle. Fatality at mile 71. I checked my clock. The timestamp was 2:19 a.m. I marked it down, assuming it was an archived broadcast. But 15 minutes later, I passed flashing lights. Police, ambulance, smoke curling into the desert air. A crash. Exactly at mile 71. The report played before it happened. I pulled over, shaking, rewound the tape. The same voice repeated, clear this time, like he was sitting in my passenger seat. Fatality at mile 71. Male driver. Broken neck, static. Then silence. I thought it was coincidence. Until the next night, driving back through the same stretch, I tuned in again. 1031 kilohertz. 2-car collision. Mile 75. One dead, one missing. I stopped breathing. My watch read 1:46 a.m. Exactly 30 minutes later, I passed the wreck. Metal twisted like a screaming mouth. Blood on the guardrail. No sirens. No cops yet. Just me and the echo of what had already been said. That's when I realized the voice wasn't reporting news. It was predicting it. The next few nights I couldn't stop listening. Each time it grew more specific. Truck fire. 2 victims. 1 female, 1 child. Mile 74. Pedestrian struck. Mile 70. Eyes open, no pulse. I started writing it all down. Dates, times, locations. Every word came true. Then one night it changed. White sedan. Male driver. Recording equipment in passenger seat. Heart stops at 2:33 a.m. I froze. Looked around. I was in a white sedan. My recorder was on the seat beside me. The dashboard clock blinked 2:17 a.m. I tried changing stations. Nothing but static. The signal wouldn't let go. Driver looked scared, sweating, trying to turn around. My throat went dry. Too late. Something flickered in the rearview mirror. Headlights, but no sound. They came closer, brighter, until they filled the cabin with white light. I slammed the gas, engine roared, but the road beneath me began to hum. A deep, pulsing vibration, like the earth itself was breathing through the tires. The radio screamed, feedback piercing, alive, almost human. The voice returned, whispering now inside the static. Welcome to the frequency, Owen. You're part of it now. The lights vanished. I woke up at dawn, parked on the shoulder. Battery dead, radio off. My recorder was still running, 6 hours of white noise. But at the very end, there was a single line whispered in my own voice. Fatality confirmed. Mile 71. Male driver. Broken neck. They found my car the next morning. Driver's seat empty, door open. Recorder still playing static on loop. And if you tune your radio to 1031 kHz tonight, sometimes between the hiss and the silence, you'll hear me reporting your story next. Episode 8. The Motel That Moved. I've stayed in hundreds of motels across the country. The kind where the vending machine still sells cigarettes and the ice bucket smells like bleach and regret. But I've never seen one like the Desert Palms Inn, and I pray to God I never do again. I'd been driving 12 hours straight, chasing the mirage of sleep through the Arizona night. Every exit looked the same. Broken neon, gas pumps wheezing their last breath, the smell of burnt rubber and loneliness. Then, as if the desert blinked and changed its mind, I saw it, a clean sign. Bright, humming like it was alive. Desert Palms Inn, vacancy. It looked almost new. The palm trees were perfectly trimmed, the parking lot spotless, the lobby glowing a soft amber through the glass doors. I pulled in, exhausted but relieved. The desk clerk was a thin man with perfect teeth and eyes that didn't blink enough. He smiled like he'd been expecting me. Long drive? He asked. Yeah, I muttered. How much for a night? Just one night. I hesitated. Something in the way he said it made my skin crawl. Yeah, just one. He handed me a brass key. Not a card, a key. Number 13, of course. Room 13 was spotless. Too spotless. The bed was made tight as a drum. Air faintly smelling of lavender and something metallic underneath. Like blood that's been cleaned too many times. I showered, lay down, and stared at the ceiling fan spinning too slow. Like time itself was dragging its feet. Somewhere between waking and sleep I heard it. Faint music from outside. A piano. Old tune. Blue Moon. The same song from that cursed Cafe 9. I sat up, heart pounding. When I looked through the window, the parking lot was gone. Just black sand, no lights, no palm trees, no road. I rushed outside, barefoot, shouting for anyone, but the air was heavy, thick like fog without moisture. My breath came out white even though it wasn't cold. The motel stood there, glowing faintly in the darkness. And beyond it, nothing. No desert, no sky. No sound, just void. I ran to the front office. The clerk was still there, smiling the same perfect smile. I need to check out, I gasped. He tilted his head, still smiling. Oh, you already did. What are you talking about? He slid the guest book toward me. My name was there, scribbled in my handwriting. Checked out 2:33 a.m. Cause expired. I backed away, shaking. The walls behind him began to ripple like water. The ceiling lights flickered, revealing something underneath the plaster. Hundreds of faces pressed outward, mouths open as if screaming silently. The clerk's voice followed me as I ran for the door. Don't worry, he said softly. The highway will find you again. I don't remember getting to my car. I remember headlights, my own, cutting through empty space until the road reappeared beneath me, like someone had drawn it in real time. When the sun rose, I was parked on the shoulder near mile 70. The Desert Palms Inn was nowhere to be found, but the brass key was still in my pocket. Room 13. On the back of the tag, there was a message scratched into the metal, words that hadn't been there before. Check-in never ends. They say if you drive Highway 191 long enough, you'll see the sign flicker back to life again. Same neon, same soft glow, same promise of rest. But if you stop, if you take that key, you'll wake up in a place that doesn't belong to this world. And by the time you realize it, the road outside will already be gone. Episode 9. Children of the Night Fog. The fog came in without warning. One moment the desert stretched endlessly under a red dusk sky, and the next, it was gone, swallowed whole by a pale, soundless mist. Mark Henderson tightened his grip on the steering wheel. His wife Anna slept against the window, their 7-year-old daughter Lucy curled up in the back seat with her stuffed rabbit. The GPS said they were still on Highway 191, but the world outside looked like nowhere. Must have missed the turn, he muttered. The fog thickened until the headlights only lit a few feet ahead. The air smelled strange, sweet, like old flowers left too long on a grave. Then Lucy spoke. Daddy, there are kids outside. Mark's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Shapes, small, moving in and out of the mist, running along the shoulder of the highway. He slowed, heart hammering. Anna stirred. What is it? Just some locals, maybe. But there were no locals here. No towns for 50 miles in either direction. The figures came closer, darting across the beam of the headlights. Children, barefoot, pale, their clothes old-fashioned and wet with fog. They didn't look scared. They looked playful. Lucy pressed her face to the glass, smiling. They're waving at me? Don't wave back, Anna said sharply, grabbing her daughter's hand. Mark, keep driving. He did. But the children followed. Their laughter echoed faintly, distorted by the fog. Too sharp, like glass chimes in a storm. Mark, Anna whispered. They're keeping up with the car. He looked. The speedometer read 45. The kids were running beside them, effortlessly, smiling. Their eyes glowed faintly white. One of them, a little boy with mud on his face, pressed his palm against the passenger window. The glass frosted instantly beneath his handprint. Then the radio crackled to life. No signal, no music. Just a child's voice whispering through static. "Stop the car, mister. We're cold." Mark slammed the power button, but the whisper continued. Not from the radio now, from everywhere. "Let us in. We're cold. We remember you. Mark, drive." Anna screamed. He hit the gas. The car lurched forward, fog whirling like a storm around them. The children's faces blurred, stretching, dissolving back into the mist, until one final knock echoed against the back window. 3 soft taps. Then silence. When the fog finally began to clear, the road reappeared, cracked, broken, moonlight glinting off faded white lines. Mark exhaled shakily. "See, it's gone." "It's Daddy," Lucy whispered. "Where's Bunny?" Her stuffed rabbit was gone. They searched the car. Nothing. Not under the seats, not on the floor. Anna turned pale. "You had it when we left." Lucy nodded slowly. "One of the kids took it. She said she liked it." Mark's mouth went dry. "When did she say that?" Lucy looked out the window, smiling softly. "While I was playing with them." Anna froze. "Lucy, you didn't leave the car." Her daughter looked at her. Episode 10, 911 from the other side. You work long enough in dispatch, and you start to recognize the sound of death before it even speaks. It's not the screaming. It's the silence that follows. My name's Evelyn Carter. I've been a 911 operator for 21 years. I've heard it all. Overdoses, fires, car wrecks, people whispering their last words as the line cuts out. But nothing haunts me like the call from Highway 191. It came in at 2:12 a.m. The night was slow. Coffee lukewarm, air conditioning humming. Then the board lit up. Line 3. Caller ID read unknown. I pressed the headset to my ear. 911, what's your emergency? Static. Then a man's voice, trembling, breathless. There's been an accident. Mile 71. Please hurry. Sir, can you tell me your name? David, my wife. She's not breathing. Please, a gasp. Then nothing. The line went dead. I dispatched units immediately. Highway patrol, EMS, the works. But 10 minutes later, the sergeant radioed back, confused. Control, we've been down the whole stretch. No crash, no debris, nothing out here. I double-checked the logs. The number didn't exist in any database. The signal had no origin point, and yet, the recording was real. I didn't sleep for 2 nights after that. Something in the man's voice, the panic, the truth, it wouldn't leave my head. On the 3rd night, I stayed late to review the audio. That's when I noticed it. In the background, beneath his voice, there was another sound. A faint rhythmic beeping, like a heart monitor. I boosted the gain, filtered the static, and a woman's voice came through. Weak, distant. Dave, it hurts. Then a crash, metal screaming, tires shrieking, and finally, her last word. Please. The clip ended there. But when I rewound the tape, the timestamp had changed. It no longer read 2:12 a.m. It read 2:12 a.m., March 5th, 2013, 12 years ago. I pulled the archives. There it was, a fatal accident at mile 71, same time, same names. David and Emily Rowan. Their car flipped after a tire blew. He died instantly. She bled out before help arrived, but the original call from 2013 had never connected. The line failed before dispatch picked up. Until now, the next night I came back after hours. The office was empty, lights dim, the city outside wrapped in fog. I loaded the recording again. Levin, I whispered, voice trembling. Can you hear me? For a moment, nothing. Then the static stirred. A whisper, faint, like wind over gravel. It's dark here, I froze. We didn't mean to wake you, the voice continued. We just wanted someone to answer. My hands went cold. The monitors flickered. Every line on the board began flashing. Dozens of incoming calls. All from unknown, each one repeating the same coordinates. Highway 191, mile 71. The air filled with overlapping voices, men, women, children, crying, begging, whispering through static. One line broke through the noise, clear as daylight. Please don't hang up. We're still here. I ripped off the headset, but the voices didn't stop. They came from the speakers now, the intercom. Even the dead phone in my pocket began to ring, and underneath it all, the faint beeping of a heart monitor. Beep, beep, beep. Then silence. The next morning, when the day shift came in, every call on the board had cleared itself, but one light was still blinking. Line 3, the message read, "Connected." I played the recording. It was my voice. 911, what's your emergency? And a man answered, trembling, "There's been an accident." Mile 71, please hurry. They say if you ever crash on Highway 191, you'll hear a phone ringing before you die. And if someone answers, pray it isn't me. Episode 11, the Mirror Mile. They call it the Mirror Mile, a stretch of Highway 191 where the asphalt shines too bright, even on moonless nights. Locals say it's because the road remembers, that it reflects not the sky above, but the lives it's taken below. I didn't believe that kind of nonsense. Not until I drove it myself. My name's Jonah Vale. I pick up hitchhikers for stories, real ones, the kind you can sell to podcasts and magazines. I'd heard rumors about the ghost highway for years. Drivers seeing their doubles, cars following their own shadows, reflections moving when they shouldn't. So when I found myself alone on 191 that October night, recorder in hand and tank half full, I went looking for the truth. The fog rolled in just before midnight, that same white curtain everyone warns about. I slowed down, scanning for the road sign people talked about, the one scorched black by lightning but still standing. There it was. A mile marker with no number, just a smooth, mirror-like surface that caught my headlights and threw them back sharper than glass. The pavement ahead gleamed like oil, a perfect strip of darkness shining beneath the moon. I pressed the gas. The tires hissed softly, the sound swallowed by fog. Then I saw it. In the rearview mirror, my car. Same make, same color, same rust on the door, except it wasn't behind me, it was in front, driving backward. I blinked, leaned forward. The car's taillights pulsed like veins under skin. I could see the driver, or what looked like me, staring straight ahead, expression blank, eyes hollow. I hit the brakes. So did he. Perfect sync. I turned my wheel slightly left. So did he. I laughed nervously into the recorder. Looks like a mirage, I said. Some weird optical trick. Then the other me smiled. It wasn't my smile. Too wide. Too knowing. And he mouthed a word I couldn't hear, but I could feel it in my chest. Stop. The fog thickened until the road was gone. All I could see was that other car, perfectly still, its headlights dimming as if something was breathing inside them. The radio flicked on by itself. Not static this time, my own voice from the recorder. Looks like a mirage. Some weird optical trick. Then a second voice joined in, whispering over mine. No, Jonah, it's you. My skin prickled. I shut off the engine, heart pounding. The air inside the car felt heavier, thick with something metallic, ozone and rot. I opened the door. The moment my foot touched the asphalt, I realized it wasn't reflecting light. It was reflecting me. Everywhere I looked, hundreds of me's stretched thin across the road, their eyes open, watching. One of them blinked. Another moved, and then they all started walking toward me. Their footsteps didn't make a sound. Just the faint hum of static, growing louder until it vibrated in my teeth. I stumbled backward, fell into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and they all froze, inches from the glass. Every reflection raised a hand in unison and pressed it against the window. A perfect mirror image, except one. The one in the middle smiled again, that same too wide smile. Then he leaned close to the glass and whispered through it like fog through cracks. Keep driving. Jonah, it's your turn to lead. The next thing I remember is waking up at dawn, car parked at a gas station miles away. My recorder was still running, battery half dead. The last thing on the tape wasn't my voice. It was the sound of two cars driving side by side, one engine real, the other echoing half a second behind, like a reflection catching up. And right before the tape cut out, a whisper. The road remembers your face now. They say if you drive through the mirror mile and see yourself, don't look away. Because if your reflection blinks first, it's already behind the wheel. Episode 12, The Watcher in the Ditch. There's a story that highway crews whisper about after dark. They call it the Watcher. They say it lives in the drainage ditches along Highway 191, the ones that run deep, carved like open veins beneath the asphalt. Most folks laugh it off, until they see the eyes. I worked night patrol for the county, inspecting road damage, logging wildlife collisions, keeping the interstate safe for truckers who never stopped long enough to blink. It was a quiet job. Until that November night, I was parked near mile 74, taking notes on flood erosion when the rain hit, hard, angry, slashing sideways. My headlights lit the culverts, the ditches filling fast. The wind howled through the guardrails like it was trying to speak. That's when I saw a movement, a shape crawling up from the ditch. At first I thought it was a deer struggling out of the mud, but then it stood upright and stared right into my lights. Two eyes glowed white, not reflecting, glowing, like someone had buried light inside its skull. "Jesus Christ," I whispered, hand trembling on the flashlight. The figure froze, mud dripping off long limbs, skin the color of asphalt. Its head tilted slightly like it was curious. I stepped out of the truck. Rain hammered my jacket, the flashlight beam trembling as I aimed it down. "Hey, you need help?" It didn't answer. Didn't move. Then, a slow smile. Thin lips splitting across its face, showing rows of small, black teeth. That's when the smell hit. Wet iron, like rust and rot mixed with something sour. The thing crouched, one arm touching the water, fingers long and jointed wrong, and then it started crawling toward the light. I jumped back into the truck, slammed the door. The headlights flickered, and for a moment the world went dark. When the beams came back on, it was gone. I sat there, shaking, until the rain stopped. Told myself it was a trick of the eyes, exhaustion, the storm. But as I drove off, I caught something in the mirror, a smear of handprints on the tailgate. Small, black, and upside down. I tried to forget it. For weeks I told no one, but I wasn't the only one who'd seen it. 2 months later, a rookie named Hernandez was sent to the same sector. He radioed in at 2:41 a.m., voice shaking. "There's someone in the ditch, sir. They're crawling." The line cut out. They found his truck the next morning, door open, engine running. No sign of him, but on the passenger seat, they found his body cam. It showed him standing near the cull. Episode 13. The tape that shouldn't exist. The tape came in an unmarked envelope. No return address, no note. Just a black VHS cassette with a single label across its spine, written in shaky red marker. "Do not view. 1/91 incident." I should have thrown it away. But I'm a journalist. Curiosity is the only sin I've never learned to confess. The package showed up 3 weeks after I published a small piece on the disappearances along Highway 191, the kind of article that local cops hate and readers forget by breakfast. But someone didn't forget. Inside the envelope was also a photo, old, faded, grainy. It showed 6 men in sheriff's uniforms standing beside a cracked stretch of asphalt. Behind them the words, "Mile 73, spray-painted in white on a road sign. All their faces were blurred. Not pixelated, blurred, like the photo itself refused to remember them. I borrowed an old VHS player from the local library, a dusty relic that whirred like a dying animal when you pressed play. The screen blinked to life. Black and white footage. Timestamp, June 12th, 1984, a police cruiser idled at the side of a desolate road. Rain hammered the lens. The camera panned shakily toward a stretch of pavement surrounded by floodlights. A crime scene, I thought, except there was no body, no blood. Just a hole, perfectly round, perfectly black. The wind howled through the microphone, distorting the sound, but a man's voice cut through, the one holding the camera. "We found it again. Same spot as last year. It's deeper this time." Another voice answered, older, trembling. "Stop filming, Dan. You don't want this recorded." The camera didn't stop. It moved closer, the image swimming in rain and static. The hole wasn't just a hole. It pulsed, like a throat. Something shifted inside. For a fraction of a second, the lens caught a reflection. A pale, wet hand pressed against the inner wall of the hole, fingers scraping at the edge. Then it was gone. The cameraman gasped. "Jesus, it's moving!" The feed glitched. A burst of white noise swallowed the frame. When the picture returned, all 6 men were standing around the hole, silent. The ground beneath them vibrated, a low hum building like a generator buried underground, and then the screaming started. One of the men, the older one, fell to his knees, clutching his head. His voice cracked through the speaker. "It's in the asphalt. It's in the..." The screen cut to static. When the image came back, it was daylight. The hole was gone. Only smooth, fresh asphalt remained, black and gleaming. The camera panned slowly across the new pavement. The audio had changed. No wind, no rain, no sound at all except for a faint knocking from beneath the ground. 3 slow knocks. A pause, then 3 more. The cameraman whispered, voice shaking. "We buried it again." He turned the lens on himself. His eyes were wide, pupils blown out, mouth twitching like he was fighting to smile. "If you're watching this," he said, "don't drive it. Don't listen to it. The road doesn't end anymore." Then, almost gently, he placed the camera on the ground and walked away, toward the blacktop, until his boots sank into it. Slowly, like mud swallowing him whole. His last words were, barely audible through the static, "It remembers the ones who watch." The screen went white. I sat there for a long time after the tape ended, hands shaking, room too quiet. The air smelled faintly of asphalt. I turned off the TV, but the screen didn't go black. A faint reflection lingered, the shape of a man standing in the background. He wasn't in the room, but on the glass, he moved closer. When I finally unplugged the machine, I noticed something scratched into the side of the VHS player, as if someone had carved it with a key. Buried doesn't mean dead. The next morning, the tape was gone. But the smell stayed. And now, when I drive down 191, my tires vibrate faintly, a rhythm I can't unhear. 3 knocks. A pause. 3 more. Like something still alive beneath the road, waiting for me to stop long enough to start watching again. Episode 14. The Driver Who Never Stopped. You can tell when the night changes on Highway 191. The wind goes quiet, the stars fade, and the road, that endless black artery of America, begins to hum like something alive is moving beneath it. That's when the Charger appears. Every trucker who's run the route knows the story. A black 1969 Dodge Charger, shining like it just rolled off the line, tail lights glowing blood red, no plates, no driver anyone's ever seen. They say it shows up at 3:33 a.m., always the same time, always the same sound. A low, throaty engine idling just behind you. If you pull over, it disappears. If you speed up, it keeps pace. And if you look too long in your mirrors, you might see yourself behind the wheel. I used to think it was myth. But last February, I learned the hard way that some stories stay alive because the road refuses to let them die. I was hauling refrigeration units up from Tucson, long straight run, no traffic, no moon, just me and the hum of tires. The dash clock flicked to 3:32, and I swear the air turned cold enough to frost the inside of the windshield. Then I heard it, a deep rumble behind me, smooth, powerful, steady, not like a semi, not like anything mechanical. It felt organic, like thunder with a heartbeat. My rearview mirror glowed red. 2 taillights floated in the dark, closing fast. I flipped on my CB. "Hey, whoever's back there, pass if you're gonna pass." No response. The car pulled up beside me, sleek, black, spotless, windows tinted darker than oil. And as it matched my speed, my headlights caught something impossible. There was a driver, or something wearing a driver's shape. Its hands gripped the wheel, bone white, unmoving. Its head turned toward me, but where the face should have been, there was only reflection. Like a mirror poured into skin, my own terrified eyes stared back at me. Then the Charger surged ahead, tires screaming, engine howling through the night. It vanished around a bend, but the hum in the air didn't fade. It was still there, waiting. I stopped at the next diner, or thought I did. Neon buzzing, coffee boiling, same old truck stop smell of grease and ghosts. I told the old man behind the counter what I'd seen. He froze. "You said 3:33? I nodded. He set down the coffee pot slow. "Son, that car ain't real. Not anymore." He leaned closer, voice dropping low. "Driver was a racer. Used to run these roads back in '74. Made a bet. One run, no stops, all the way from Tombstone to Flagstaff. He never made it past mile 70. Lost control, hit the median so hard they said the car buried itself halfway underground. They never found the body. He poured me a cup anyway, though his hands trembled. Every few years, folks say he's back on the road, still racing. Still trying to finish. I laughed it off. Told myself it was a ghost story to scare travelers. But when I walked back to my rig, there was something waiting on the hood, a set of tire tracks. Fresh. Black rubber burned into the metal, too. Perfect streaks, ending where the truck's grill should have been, and written in the dust above them, with a single finger, "Keep up." I didn't sleep that night, didn't stop driving either. The next evening, just before dawn, I saw the glow again, far ahead this time, two red eyes cutting through the fog. I don't remember speeding up. I only remember the feeling, like gravity itself pulling me toward him. The closer I got, the louder the hum became, until the radio snapped on by itself, whispering through static. He never stopped. You won't either. They found my rig a week later, still idling on the shoulder. Headlights off, doors locked. The CB kept transmitting a single sound on loop, the roar of a V8 engine, accelerating endlessly, fading into the distance. And if you drive Highway 191 at 3:33 a.m., they say you can still hear it, somewhere between the fog and the wind, that low, hungry growl chasing you down. But whatever you do, don't look in the mirror. You might see yourself behind the wheel. Episode 15, The Return. It's been 3 years since I last went on air. 3 years since the voice called me from mile 73. I still host night frequencies, but I don't broadcast live anymore. Not after that night. I record everything now. Filter it, edit it, cut away the whispers between the static. But no matter what I do, I still hear it when the station goes quiet. That faint, low hum beneath the signal, like the road breathing through the wires. And lately, it's been getting louder. It started a month ago. Every time I played back an episode, the voice returned, distorted, distant, crawling through my own words like a parasite. You left the road. Come back. Episode 16, The Town Beneath the Highway. The desert doesn't forget. It just buries things deep enough that men pretend it's silence. That's what they did with Ashcroft. A mining town swallowed by fire in 1913, or so the records say. No survivors, no rebuilding, just a forgotten scar in the middle of nowhere. 100 years later, they built Highway 191 right over it. And every night since, when the wind dies and the earth cools, something still moves beneath the asphalt. I first heard about Ashcroft from an old surveyor named Bill Harker, a wiry man with skin like sun-baked leather and eyes that twitched when you said mile 73. He'd worked the federal mapping project back in the 80s. Said the land under 191 wasn't empty. Said they'd found foundations down there. Whole town, he told me, taking a drag from his cigarette. Streets, signs, a goddamn church steeple. But the thing is, it wasn't burned. It was preserved. Like it never rotted. Like the desert was keeping it. He flicked the cigarette into the sand. Then the engineers paved it over. Figured a few ghosts were cheaper than rerouting concrete. He laughed once, hollowly. But you ever heard a bell ring under the dirt? You will. That night, curiosity did what fear couldn't. I drove out to the stretch he'd mapped, mile 71 through 75. Nothing but blacktop and sagebrush. The air was still. Too still, no wind, no insects, no sound but the hum of my engine. Then faintly, a chime, soft, distant. A church bell tolling once, then again, then stopping. I pulled over, heart pounding. When I stepped out, the air was warmer, like the ground itself was exhaling. I knelt, pressed my hand to the pavement. It was vibrating, and through it I heard voices, muffled, faint, singing. A hymn. The lyrics were old, something I half remembered from childhood. But the melody, it was wrong, too slow, too heavy. Each note dragged like it didn't want to be sung. I followed the sound to the embankment, flashlight trembling in my hand. A stretch of soil near the shoulder had collapsed, revealing something beneath the layers of tar and sand. Brick. Red brick, blackened at the edges, forming an archway. My light caught something carved into the stone. St. Cecilia's, the church. The singing grew louder. I could hear footsteps now, the scrape of benches, the low murmur of prayer, and then a whisper from the dark below. Come in. The words didn't echo. They vibrated through the air like they'd been spoken by the ground. I stepped back, terrified, but the earth shifted under my feet. The pavement cracked, split down the middle. A hot gust of air burst upward, carrying with it the smell of candle wax and ash. When the dust cleared, I saw light flickering beneath, rows of them, candles still burning after a century, and beyond them, silhouettes kneeling in pews, dozens, hundreds, all unmoving, all facing forward toward a pulpit of stone. At the altar stood a figure, cloaked, motionless. The bell tolled again, shaking the night. The figure turned its head, slowly, and I saw its face. No eyes. Just two black sockets filled with moving ash. Its mouth opened, and I heard the road itself rumble in answer. "You paved over heaven," it whispered. "Now we live beneath you." I ran. When I came back to my car, the road had healed. No cracks, no archway, no sound. But my tires were covered in red dust, and when I looked closer, fine specks of melted candle wax clung to the rubber. That night, I dreamed of fire. And in the distance, through the smoke, I saw the steeple of St. Cecilia's rising again. The bell was ringing. But it wasn't tolling for the dead anymore. It was calling the living, one driver at a time. Last week, the highway department began repaving the same section after a series of unexplained sinkholes. The workers say they keep hearing music through the asphalt, a choir singing under the machines. They say sometimes when the light hits just right, you can see faces beneath the tar, mouths open in song, eyes turned toward the surface, and if you listen long enough, the bell tolls once more. At first I thought it was interference, maybe from an AM tower nearby. But when I scrubbed through the audio waveform, there it was, a second frequency layered beneath my voice. 1000 Dawn or Mers Highway 191, I laughed when I saw it. I even tried to joke about it on the show. But that night my listeners began emailing. Dozens of them. Each message said the same thing. I heard the whisper too. And one of them, one from a man in Utah, included a sound clip recorded from his car radio. It was my voice. Except I wasn't saying what he heard. "I'm coming home," it said. "Meet me at mile 73. Last week I found my old recorder in a box of studio junk. The same one I used that night when I took the call from the man who vanished. The batteries were dead, but when I turned it on, it played anyway. A single sentence over and over. Keep driving." The timestamp glowed faintly on the display, 3:33 a.m. That's when I knew I had to go back. I left the station at midnight, just like before. The highway felt unchanged, black and endless, the moon hanging low like an eye watching from behind thin clouds. Every mile marker looked familiar, until I passed 69. Then the air shifted. The road began to hum beneath the tires, faint vibrations pulsing through the steering wheel, through my hands, through my chest, like a heartbeat I'd forgotten I once shared. Fog crawled out of the desert. The radio flickered to life unprompted. "Welcome back." The voice wasn't mine this time. It was his, the caller from that night. "You never finished the broadcast." My throat tightened. "Who are you?" "I told you. Mile 73. The sign appeared through the fog, bent, rusted, burned. Mile 73. I pulled over. The hum stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the ground began to tremble, just slightly, like something shifting beneath the asphalt. I stepped out of the car. The fog swirled around me, heavy and warm, carrying a smell like burnt electricity. Then I saw them, headlights, hundreds of them. Flickering on both sides of the road, trucks, sedans, police cruisers, all wrecked, half sunken into the asphalt, their engines dead. And inside each one, a driver. Eyes open, mouths moving, whispering the same word, broadcast. My knees went weak. The recorder in my pocket switched on by itself. Static bled through, followed by my old intro jingle. Then my voice, Liv, filled the night. "Good evening, night travelers. You're listening to Night Frequencies." I hadn't spoken those words. The voice continued, perfectly steady. "And tonight we're coming to you from the end of the road." The wrecked cars began to rumble, engines igniting, headlights turning toward me. "The highway's hungry," the voice whispered. "It needs a signal." The fog surged, blinding white, swallowing everything. The cars, the lights, the world itself. The last thing I remember was pressing record. They found my car 2 days later, engine cold, door open, The only thing inside was my recorder, still running. 6 hours of silence. Then faintly, my voice. You're listening to Night Frequencies. Broadcasting live from mile 73. The hum returned, louder. Keep driving. They're airing my old show again now. The reruns. But sometimes late at night when the power flickers, people say they still hear a new episode, a live one. With me behind the mic, and if you tune your radio just right, between stations, around 3:33 a.m., you'll hear the static breathe, and the road will start calling your name. Episode 17, The Passenger Seat. They say no one drives Highway 191 alone. Even if you start that way, you never finish that way, because at some point, somewhere between the fog and the static, someone else gets in. I didn't believe the stories until the night I came home with dirt on my shoes. My name is Laura Kent. I'm a nurse. I don't believe in ghosts, angels, or whatever people say rides the desert roads at night. But I do believe in exhaustion, the kind that warps reality, that makes the line between dream and waking crumble like ash. It was 3:17 a.m. when I left the night shift. My car's gas light blinked as I merged onto 191. The road was empty, a black ribbon stretching endlessly through nothing. The radio was off, the sky moonless, the world stripped of sound. And yet, I felt watched. At first it was just a sensation, that subtle pull in your gut when someone stands too close. Then the temperature dropped. A breath of cold air touched the back of my neck, like someone leaning in. I glanced at the rearview mirror. Nothing, but the seatbelt indicator blinked. Click, a red light flickering beside the passenger seat. My chest tightened. Probably a sensor, I whispered. Then it clicked again. The belt slid through the buckle, tightening by itself. Slow, deliberate. Someone had just buckled in. My hands trembled on the wheel. "Who's there?" I said aloud, feeling stupid even as my voice cracked. No answer. Only the hum of the tires. But when I looked again, the window had fogged from the inside. And written in the condensation were 4 words, traced by an invisible finger. "Thanks for the ride." I slammed the brakes. The car screeched, fishtailed, stopped sideways on the shoulder. The words vanished. I jumped out, breathing hard, scanning the desert. Nothing but silence and the wind. The air smelled faintly of soil and burnt rubber. I got back in, locked the doors, drove fast. Too fast. And the whole way home, I didn't dare look at the passenger seat. When I finally parked in my driveway, dawn was breaking. I stumbled inside, shaking. Shoes still on, collapsed onto the couch. When I woke up hours later, I noticed something strange. My seatbelt was still fastened, tight across my lap. I hadn't buckled it, and my shoes. They were caked with dirt. Dark, fine, damp soil. I live in Tucson. There hasn't been rain in weeks. That night, I told my friend Daniel, a state trooper. He didn't laugh. He just looked at me with that tired kind of pity cops reserve for stories they've heard before. "You're not crazy," he said quietly. "We get reports like that every few months. People waking up parked in ditches, seatbelts unbuckled, engines still warm." I stared at him. "You're saying it's real?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Some of them never wake up," he said. "But when we find their cars, there's always a photo left on the seat." "What kind of photo?" He swallowed. "A Polaroid of them, sleeping behind the wheel." I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window watching the driveway. Around 2:30 a.m., I heard it, the faint creak of car suspension. I looked out. The driver's side door was open. Interior lights glowing soft and golden, like someone was sitting inside. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the cold air. The world was still. Even the crickets were silent. When I reached the car, the passenger door slowly opened, by itself. And on the seat, resting neatly where no one had left it, was a Polaroid. It showed me, asleep behind the wheel, mouth slightly open. The timestamp on the bottom read 3:33 a.m. The next morning, Daniel called. He said another report had come in. Single vehicle stall, same stretch of 191. The driver was found alive, but dazed, seatbelt undone. Dirt on their shoes, and when questioned, they all said the same thing. I wasn't driving. Someone else was. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night and smell the earth again. Damp, ancient, like freshly turned graves. I always check the driveway, and every time my car is clean. Except for the passenger seat. There's always a faint imprint there, like someone sitting waiting, politely buckled in. They say Highway 191 doesn't take you anywhere. It just gives you company for the ride. But once it's ridden with you once, it always knows where you live. Episode 18, The Last Broadcast. The signal wasn't supposed to reach that far. Radio waves die out in the desert. They fade, fracture, vanish into the endless sand. But that night it didn't fade, it multiplied. It began with a pirate broadcast. A late-night transmission that hijacked frequencies across Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. Every dial that turned between 1 and 2 a.m. caught the same sound. A hum. A low pulse like the heartbeat of the earth. And then a voice. Good evening, night travelers. You're listening to Night Frequencies. It was him, the radio host who vanished months ago. The man last heard broadcasting from Mile 73. Except now, he wasn't speaking to anyone. He was speaking through them. Every driver who tuned in said the same thing. The voice didn't come from the speakers. It came from inside the car, from behind their seats, from their own mouths when they tried to breathe. By dawn, people were crashing on empty highways, cars found idling, radios still whispering. Some drivers were alive, glassy-eyed, muttering the same phrase again and again. Keep driving. Don't let it stop. The signal spread online next. Someone uploaded a recording of the broadcast to YouTube. The video froze at the 1-minute mark, just static. But every viewer swore they heard something different when they played it. One woman heard her dead husband. A trucker heard his own voice screaming. A child in El Paso claimed the voice told her to open the window. Within hours, the video disappeared. The uploader's account went dark. But the file kept reappearing, shared, renamed, buried, resurrected under new titles like The Road That Listens and Drive Forever to MP3. I shouldn't have listened. I told myself I was documenting it, investigating the story. But journalists are just gravediggers with notebooks. I found an archived copy of the audio and hit play. The hum began. Deep, rhythmic, almost soothing, like the sound of tires on asphalt. Then the voice came through. You can't stop what's awake now. I froze. Every time someone listens, the road grows. I tried to close the file. My mouse wouldn't move. The cursor drifted slowly on its own, circling the play button like it was alive. We paved it too thin, the voice whispered. The ground remembers. It's hungry, the hum deepened. No longer a sound, but a feeling. The walls vibrated. My heartbeat matched its rhythm. Then came static, chaotic, piercing. And through it, faint but distinct, a second voice, my own. You're listening to Night Frequencies. Broadcasting live. From inside the signal, the speakers cracked. The monitor flickered. For a moment I saw something. Headlights. Hundreds of them. Stretching into infinity. Each one flickering like a dying star. Every car filled with people. Staring blankly ahead. Mouths moving in unison. Keep driving. I tore the power cord from the wall. The screen went dark. But the voice didn't stop. It echoed from the unplugged speakers, faint but clear. We're in you now. The next morning, my phone rang. No caller ID. I answered anyway, static. Then my own recording, the same one I'd listened to, but underneath it, a third voice, deep, layered, almost mechanical. The broadcast continues. It's been 3 nights since then. I don't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see the headlights. Endless lines of them, weaving through fog that hums like a power line. I know what it wants now. The highway isn't a place anymore. It's a frequency. Every recording, every retelling, every sound that carries its name feeds it. It doesn't need drivers anymore, just listeners. Last night the signal took over every station, even emergency channels. Every frequency from 88 to 108 played the same sound, the hum, followed by the voice. The road doesn't sleep, and neither do you. People flooded the streets, eyes glazed, walking toward the sound like moths toward heat. Engines roared to life across town, cars starting by themselves, headlights flickering on in driveways, all pointing west toward Highway 191. I watched from my window as they rolled past, slow and steady, every radio tuned to the same transmission. The hum rose like thunder, like the world itself revving into something infinite. And then my phone buzzed one last time. A new message. No number. No text. Just an attached audio file named finalbroadcast.wave. I shouldn't have pressed play, but I did. The hum fills my room now. My reflection in the window blinks out of sync. The floor trembles, and outside, somewhere far down the street, I can hear it. The low growl of an engine that never stops. "Keep driving," the voice whispers from the dark. It's your turn. Episode 19, Sleep No More. No one remembers the last night they truly slept. It started quietly, like all endings do. A single dream that refused to end, rippling outward through every city, every voice, every signal that ever touched Highway 191. By the third week, the world had stopped sleeping altogether, and those who tried never woke up. The scientists called it collective insomnia syndrome. The journalists called it the highway plague. But those of us who'd heard the signal, those who'd felt it inside us, knew the truth. It wasn't a disease. It was a summoning. The road had learned how to travel through us. I keep a journal now. What's left of my mind fits better on paper. I write by candlelight because electronics hum with the frequency, that low pulsing rhythm that sounds like tires on wet asphalt. If I stay near it too long, I start hearing the voice again. You can rest when the road stops. It never stops. People don't dream anymore, not the way we used to. When we close our eyes, we don't see our memories or our fears. We see the highway, infinite, bleeding into fog. Headlights stretching forever, everyone walking it, eyes open. Bodies asleep. Somewhere beyond the horizon, something waits. A hum that feels like gravity, a glow that feels like hunger. The road isn't made of stone anymore. It's made of us. The first city to collapse was Flagstaff. No power, no sleep, no sunrise that looked real. Reporters said people were wandering the streets in trance-like loops, walking in perfect formation, like lines of traffic. They didn't speak, didn't blink, only whispered one phrase as they moved. Keep driving. Hospitals filled with the half-awake. Their hearts beat in sync with the hum. Some nurses claimed they could hear distant engines beneath the floor, and then the roads cracked, perfectly straight, like something beneath was pushing upward, something breathing. By week 5, every screen flickered with the same static pattern, faint, rhythmic, like headlights flashing in fog. Every recording device played fragments of the broadcast. You're still listening. You're still part of it. And we were, because the more we tried to erase it, the more it remembered us. Every deleted file reappeared. Every burnt tape hissed back to life. Even those who hadn't heard the signal started to feel it. A restless vibration in their bones. A phantom hum in their skulls when they tried to close their eyes. Sleep became the one thing the human body feared. I've tried to stay awake for 10 days now. Caffeine stopped working after the 3rd. Pain doesn't help either. The body adapts, finds ways to drift without permission, and when it does, the dreams return, not dreams exactly. Memories that don't belong to me. I see headlights slicing through desert fog. I feel the wheel under my hands. And always, someone sitting in the passenger seat whispering directions I can't remember when I wake. Left, right, deeper. The road stretches farther every time. Yesterday I found something terrifying. A Polaroid tucked inside this notebook, one I didn't take. It shows me, asleep, driving, behind me. Through the back window, the sky is black. No stars, no moon. Only that faint blue glow that seems to bleed from the horizon like dawn that never comes. On the back of the photo, written in shaky handwriting, "You're almost there." I'm not sure what there means anymore. Maybe it's the end of the road. Maybe it's where the road ends us, but I can feel it calling. In the hum of the candle flame, in the heartbeat that no longer sounds like mine. When I press my ear to the floor, I can hear engines. Hundreds of them, thousands, all idling in perfect rhythm, waiting. If anyone finds this journal, don't try to find me. Don't listen to the static, don't follow the hum, and for God's sake, don't fall asleep. Because if you dream long enough, the road finds you, and when it does, you wake up behind the wheel, eyes open, hands steady, mouth whispering words you don't remember learning. Keep driving. Episode 20. The Highway Remembers. In the end, there was no dawn. Only the road, endless, living, breathing beneath the weight of every name, every story, every scream that ever touched its asphalt, and it remembered all of them. I don't know how long I've been driving. Days blur into nights that never end. The stars have gone. The moon, too. Even the sky looks painted, stretched thin, as if it's only pretending to exist. The speedometer has stopped working, but the car still moves. The engine doesn't burn fuel anymore. It burns memory. Each mile I travel, something inside me disappears. Faces of people I loved, the sound of their laughter, the weight of their names. They vanish into the hum of the tires, swallowed by the rhythm that never stops. And sometimes, when I look out the window, I see them standing along the shoulder, the ones who drove before me. Their eyes are mirrors, their mouths open and close in silence, mouthing the same words the road whispers through the static. Keep driving. We're almost home. There's no more difference between asphalt and flesh now. The highway pulses like a vein, lit from within by a faint red glow that grows brighter the longer I follow it. Every so often, I pass a wreck, a car half sunk into the pavement, headlights still flickering weakly. And from inside, faces press against the glass, not in pain, but in memory, trapped in a loop of their final moment. Each one murmurs my name as I pass, like a choir of ghosts rehearsing my arrival. The road remembers me. It's always remembered me, because I was the first to speak its name, the first to broadcast its voice. Somewhere ahead, the fog parts. A city glows faintly beyond the horizon, golden, beautiful, impossible. The radio crackles. You're almost there, my voice again, but older, deeper, and behind it, the murmur of 1,000 other versions of me, echoing through time. Every retelling, every word spoken into a microphone, every frightened whisper of Highway 191. The road isn't a place. It's a story, and the more it's told, the more it becomes real. It doesn't feed on blood. It feeds on remembrance. Every terrified driver, every sleepless traveler who shared the tale gave it life. Every broadcast, every retweet, every whisper in the dark gave it shape. Now it no longer needs the road at all. It's inside the airwaves. Inside every story you've ever repeated. Inside you, the city grows clearer. Towers of glass shimmer in the mist, but their reflections ripple, bending, twisting, as if built on water instead of stone. A massive radio antenna rises from its center, humming in tune with the highway's rhythm. And beneath it, carved into the earth, the same words I once saw burned into a rusted road sign, mile 73. I stop the car. The door opens on its own. Heat rolls out, dry, electric, familiar. The air smells like asphalt and rain. And far above me, a voice whispers, not in the sky, but in my own bones. Welcome back, broadcaster. I walk forward. The ground vibrates with every step. The closer I get to the antenna, the louder the hum grows until it's no longer sound. It's presence. It fills everything. Then I see it, a shape forming beneath the tower, vast, shimmering, faceless. Not God, not ghost, but something older than both, made of stories, made of remembrance. Every whisper that ever described it is etched into its skin. Every horror retold becomes another heartbeat in its body. We are what you built, it says. You gave us names. You gave us fear. You gave us truth. My hands tremble. What do you want? To remember. Remember what? Everything. The fog rises higher, curling around me like smoke from a burning signal. Voices swell within it. The trucker, the dispatcher, the hitchhiker, the nurse, the dead racer, the girl on the overpass. All of them whispering in unison. The road doesn't end. It only remembers. I look down at my reflection in the blacktop. It's smiling. And when it speaks, its voice is no longer mine. Keep driving. Tell them what you saw. Let them remember. The world begins to dissolve into static. The lines on the highway stretch upward, becoming threads of light that twist into the sky like antenna wires. And through them, through every signal, every speaker, every faint hum in the walls, the highway begins to speak again. Not just to me. To everyone. If you're hearing this, you've already fed it. Every image in your head, every heartbeat syncing to the rhythm of these words, every second you've spent listening, the road has taken note. It knows your name now. It knows your route home, and it's waiting. So when you drive tonight and your radio catches static, and you hear a whisper, faint, familiar, saying your name, don't answer, don't look, don't remember, because once the highway remembers you, you'll never stop driving again.
Epilogue, the road still breathes. There's an old saying, among the few who still talk about Highway 191, you can pave over a grave, but you can't quiet the dead beneath it. The world has moved on, or it thinks it has. No one drives at night anymore. The highways are empty after dusk, veins of black glass stretching through deserts and forests, humming faintly beneath the wind. They tell new drivers it's because of fuel shortages, or wild animals, or government curfews. But the truth lives in the static between radio stations. In that pulse you sometimes feel through the steering wheel when the world gets too quiet. The truth is, the road never stopped breathing. The recordings were erased, or so they claim. Every file that ever mentioned the highway that never let travelers sleep was scrubbed from the archives, wiped from public servers, buried in government drives that no one dares to open. But if you listen closely, deep enough into the static, you'll still hear fragments. A hum, a voice, sometimes the faint echo of a broadcast that shouldn't exist anymore. Good evening, night travelers. It fades quickly, a phantom transmission, yet those who hear it say it never leaves their heads afterward. The hum lingers under their thoughts, a rhythm that matches the beat of their hearts. Some even start dreaming again, but their dreams aren't theirs. They dream of asphalt glowing faintly red, of headlights gliding across an endless horizon, of a city made of mirrors and engines that never cool. And when they wake, their feet are dirty. Their cars smell faintly of burnt oil. Their radios turn themselves on at 3:33 a.m. There are rumors, always rumors. Truckers whisper about a new voice on Channel 19, a man calling himself the broadcaster. His signal comes and goes, never the same route twice. He doesn't ask for listeners, he finds them. We remember you, he says, in a calm, measured tone. You've driven before, you just forgot. When they ask who he is, the answer always changes. Sometimes he says he's the man from mile 73. Sometimes he says he's everyone who ever drove there. And sometimes he simply laughs and says, I'm the echo left when the road learned how to speak. The government filled the ditches, sealed the tunnels, and poured new asphalt over the cursed stretch. Fresh blacktop, no cracks, no markers, but the pavement still hums, especially when it rains. Engineers say it's just pressure from the groundwater, but the workers, the ones who drive the rollers at night, tell another story. They say when the mist rolls in, faces appear in the tar, hands reach up, and every now and then, one of the machines stops on its own, as if something beneath it is pushing back. A foreman swore he heard knocking through the steamroller floor, 3 slow knocks, then 3 more. When he jumped down, there were handprints on the steel drum, upside down. In some corners of the internet, the dark ones, the ones buried in forgotten threads and ghost forums. The story still circulates. Screenshots of dead radio frequencies, pixelated photos of fog curling across abandoned highways, audio clips of engines idling where no cars were found. They say if you replay them enough times, you start to hear your own voice whispering in the background, repeating the words, completing the loop, keep driving. And somewhere out there, far beyond the last working city, beneath a sky that hasn't known dawn in years, the real highway still runs. A black vein stretching forever into the fog, the earth above it cracked, the air shimmering faintly with the heat of an unseen engine. If you listen, not with your ears, but with the quietest part of your mind, you can hear the echoes of tires on distant pavement, rolling endlessly into a horizon that never comes closer. They say it's the sound of all the lost travelers still driving, trapped between waking and memory, steering through eternity while the road remembers every turn. But others, the ones who've seen the glow, say it's something else. They say it's growing. Each time someone speaks its name, the highway stretches a little farther. Each time someone listens, the fog spreads a little wider. And one day soon, the road won't be in Arizona anymore. It'll be everywhere. In every city street, every cracked parking lot, every heartbeat that sinks to the hum. If you're reading this, don't share it. Don't retell it. Don't even think about it too long. Because the highway feeds on remembrance, and the moment you remember it, it remembers you. So when you drive home tonight and the road looks longer than usual, when your radio catches a faint voice whispering through the static, when you feel the steering wheel vibrate like something breathing beneath it, turn back, find another route, kill the engine, and pray the silence holds, because the road is awake now, and it's waiting for you to dream.